Welcome to my YouTube. The laughter room was silent, sterile, circular, and carved from some strange, metallic blue alloy that shimmered with faint pulses of light. No windows, no doors, just a table, 2 chairs, and the cold gaze of Commander Zyrella. Eli Mercer sat opposite her, shackled at the wrists by shimmering energy cuffs. His orange Earth Federation uniform was torn at the shoulder, stained with dry blood and alien dust. He looked exhausted, but his eyes still burned with defiance. Zyrella's skin shimmered faint violet under the station lights, her eyes like molten silver, unblinking and cruel. 3 more of her kind stood behind her female, tall, armored, and each wearing the same smug expression, like they were watching a primitive creature squirm beneath a microscope. "You're not as repulsive as the archives described," Zyrella said flatly, flipping open a black file. Her voice echoed in the room, artificially amplified by the translation implants embedded in Eli's skull. "But apparently, far more dangerous." Eli tilted his head. "You've dragged me halfway across the galaxy to insult me. What happened to universal diplomacy?" The women behind her laughed, a sharp, synchronized sound. "Musical, but cruel. You call that diplomacy?" Zyrella asked, tapping a glowing holomage that floated above the file. It showed a fetus, half alien, half human, encased in a glowing, embryonic field. Eli froze. "You did this," she said, "without direct contact, without ritual, without permission. You broke a dozen interstellar bioprotocols. This is not a miracle. This is a weapon. I didn't do anything." Eli snapped. "I was scanned, poked, monitored. Every second I was under surveillance. Yes, and somehow, that was enough." She waved her hand, and the wall behind her came to life, displaying surveillance footage. Eli walking through a luminous hallway, escorted by alien guards. Alien women watching him from balconies above, laughing, some pointing. At the time, they were mocking him. This little Terran man in his scratched spacesuit, slow, inefficient, useless, a biological antique. "I remember that day," Eli muttered. "They laughed the whole time." "They laughed," Zyrella repeated, leaning closer, "until 2 of them collapsed from genetic feedback failure, until their neural implants began malfunctioning, until one of our physicians began craving Terran protein structures." One of the aliens behind her shifted uncomfortably. "This isn't possible," Eli said, his voice lower now. "We didn't even touch them yet." Zyrella whispered, 3 of our women, my own officers, are with child, carrying something not entirely us, something with your DNA." Silence stretched between them. Eli leaned back slowly. "If I did something, I didn't mean to. I was following orders. I was just there to scan energy fields." "We know," she said bitterly. "The Eden 7 mission. Your people called it a diplomatic scientific venture. Ours saw it as charity. Then why invite us?" Zyrella's jaw tightened. "To prove we were better. We thought your species had nothing left to offer but noise, war, and carbon emissions." "Well," Eli said with a weak smile, "apparently we offer more." No one laughed this time. She stood up and paced slowly around the table. "Our species has maintained genetic purity for 10,000 cycles. We control every birth, every neural calibration, every hormone. There is no randomness in our evolution. No ... surprises. So, these pregnancies," Eli said carefully, "they scare you." She stopped behind him. "They terrify us." Her words dropped like stones. Zyrella walked back to the table, sat down, and pushed the holomage closer to him. "Look at it. This hybrid, it's developing too fast. It responds to stimuli while still inside the womb. It shares memories from its host." And she paused. "What?" Eli asked, his voice now tight with concern. "It speaks," she said. "Not in words, in pulses, in symbols, and in some strange pattern we trace to Earth's ancient languages. A dead code. Pre-unification." Eli felt a chill race down his spine. "That's not possible." "That's the problem with your kind," Zyrella said. "You keep assuming what is or isn't possible, and then your existence proves us all wrong." The other women shifted, exchanging unreadable glances. Zyrella leaned in again. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell us what happened on Eden 7, every detail, every scan, every reading. And you're going to tell us if this was planned." "You think I planned this?" Eli snapped. "Lady, I don't even know how this happened." "You're lying," she said. Or worse, your DNA is doing something even you don't understand. A beat passed. Eli swallowed. What happens to the children? We haven't decided, she said coldly. Some on the council want them terminated. Others want to study them. And one group, she trailed off, eyes narrowing, wants to let them grow. Which side are you on? I'm on the side of survival, she said. And right now, you are a variable that threatens the equation. The lights dimmed suddenly. A soft alarm rang out, one Eli didn't recognize. Zyrella stood, her hand to her ear. What? No. Impossible. What is it? Eli asked. She turned to him, her face pale for the first time. One of the embryos just accelerated its gestation. How fast? It moved from Classified Expedition Eden. The room trembled slightly, barely noticeable, but Eli Mercer caught it. The sound was subtle, like a low thrum pulsing through the metal walls of the interrogation chamber. Something was happening outside. Something the aliens hadn't expected. Commander Zyrella turned sharply toward the wall, barked something in her native tongue, and a shimmering blue interface emerged. She swiped her hand through a column of data, her expression unreadable. The others stood rigid behind her. Eli leaned forward, still cuffed. What do you mean it said my name? Zyrella didn't answer. Commander, another alien woman said, softer now. We've confirmed the acceleration. Subject 1 has entered cognitive phase activity. Neural patterns are fluctuating around Terran linguistic structures. It's impossible, Zyrella muttered. It hasn't even reached full organogenesis. You said that already, Eli said. About 5 things today. She spun to face him. What did you do to us on Eden 7? I didn't do anything. No, she said. You did something. And until we understand what that something is, your planet remains on restricted contact status. One more mutation, one more unknown variable, and Earth will be listed as a Class 5 biothreat. Eli stared at her. You think threatening me is going to fix this? I think knowing is the only thing that might. She turned to the others. Leave us. The 3 women hesitated, then exited in silence. The door dissolved into light as they passed. Now alone with him, Zyrella took her seat again, eyes sharper than before. Start talking. Eden 7. Every detail. Eli took a breath, eyes flicking to the ceiling like he could see back in time. 5 weeks earlier, Eden 7, unclassified sector. The planet had been beautiful. That was his first memory. Twin moons casting a silver glow over black rock valleys, and glowing red trees. He remembered stepping off the shuttle, boots hitting magnetic soil that hummed underfoot. They'd sent him alone. A test mission. Officially, Earth Federation claimed it was a joint alliance tech calibration. Unofficially, they wanted to know why the aliens had refused human access to this planet for over 2 decades. His orders were simple. Collect energy field readings, observe local tech, and leave quietly. But Eden 7 had other plans. Welcome, human, said the first alien voice that greeted him. She was tall, luminous, her skin flowing like glass touched by starlight. She introduced herself as Dr. Vinari, lead xenobiologist. You are smaller than expected, she'd said, with a smirk. The next few days blurred together into bioscans, endless testing. They weren't hostile. Not exactly. But they treated him like a lab rat wearing shoes. The alien women were fascinated by his physical structure, especially the fact that he had no internal hormonal regulation systems. You let your emotions run wild. Another had said, laughing, how do you even function? They joked, whispered, sometimes laughed at him right to his face. He was told not to resist the medical scans. And he didn't. They were advanced, non-invasive light waves, molecular mapping, bioenergy extraction. At one point, he was placed inside a chamber surrounded by glowing crystal tubes. What's this for? He asked. Calibration, Vinari said. We're testing resonance fields. It had felt strange, warm, almost intimate, like being submerged in light and sound. The humming had matched his heartbeat, then his breath, then something deeper. After it ended, he'd felt different, lighter, like something inside him had shifted. You're free to go, Vinari had said with an unreadable expression. Your genetic data was enlightening. Now interrogation room, space station, Zareth 12. So let me get this straight, Zyrella interrupted, arms folded. You entered our bioresonance chamber, underwent a full quantum body map, and then left without incident. That's right, Eli said, No contact, no reproduction, nothing intimate. Yet 3 of my officers, one of them not even in the same building, are now carrying half-human offspring. I don't know what to tell you, Eli said, unless your fancy light tubes can extract DNA remotely. Zarella's face darkened. Wait, Eli said, can they? She didn't answer. Because if they can, he said slowly, you scanned me, mapped me, and then distributed that data, didn't you? Still silence. That's what this is, Eli said. Your technology doesn't just observe, it copies. My DNA was digitized, then something on that planet turned it biologically active. Your systems aren't stable. They didn't just map me, they synthesized me. Zarella's fists clenched. Our protocols are flawless. Our science was, Eli corrected. Your tech never encountered Terran biology before. Maybe your systems interpret human emotional frequencies as genetic commands. That's absurd, is it? He asked. Because last time I checked, one of your babies just said my name and jumped into 3rd trimester brain development in under an hour. She didn't respond. Instead, she reached toward the wall and activated another screen. This time, Eli saw a stasis chamber. Inside floated a fetus larger now, glowing softly, eyes already open. It blinked, and then, in a burst of static-filled audio, came a whisper. Eli. His name, from the thing that should not yet exist. Zarella turned to him. What are you? I'm just a man, he whispered. She stared at him for a long moment. Then why do you feel like a warning? The door burst open. A second officer, breathless. Commander, the second subject has begun to mimic voices. It's broadcasting emotion, signatures. It's asking to see him. Eli and Zarella locked eyes. Outside, something ancient was waking up, and it knew his name. The mutation protocol, the hallway outside the interrogation chamber was in chaos. Red lights flickered along the ceiling. Transparent display panels screamed, with biometric data, each line erasing pulse or brainwave pattern. Alarms pulsed in low, rhythmic tones, more like heartbeats than warnings. Eli walked beside Commander Zarella, flanked by 2 guards. Though the energy cuffs had been removed, he wasn't under arrest anymore, not officially. Now he was something worse. He was an anomaly. They stepped into the MedCore observation wing. The floor beneath them was alive, responding to footsteps, adapting to movement. Around them, tall incubation pods shimmered in temperature glass. Each pod contained a fetus, but none of them were ordinary. 3.3 unborn children, all of them part human, all of them accelerating in development, beyond anything even the Alien Science Council had predicted. And one of them kept whispering Eli's name. This is insane, he muttered, staring through the transparent shield of pod number 1. The child inside floated calmly, its small hands curled against its chest. Its skin was faintly glowing, a pale lavender hue, like the alien women, but with darker freckles along its arms and shoulders. Human traits. Look at this neural scan, said a medic beside them. The brain activity has surpassed level 3 cortical development. It's achieving dream cycles and broadcasting emotions. Broadcasting? Zarella asked sharply. Yes, the medic nodded. Through empathic bursts. Not quite telepathy, more like emotional frequency projection. And it's directed at him. She turned to Eli, her silver eyes unreadable. What do you feel when you look at it? Eli hesitated. Like, I know it, like it remembers something I forgot. The room fell quiet. From the adjacent chamber, another alarm shrieked. Subject 3 initiating vocal mimicry, a voice announced over the intercom. They all turned to the new pod. The fetus inside was visibly larger, weeks ahead of biological schedule. It floated with slow, deliberate movements, like it was aware of being observed. Then, in a broken, static voice that made everyone freeze, it spoke again. Mother... is not the same anymore. The sentence echoed, digital, fractured, still unmistakably clear. Zarella stepped back. Run diagnostics. Now Eli's heart pounded. They're aware of us. More than aware, said the medic. They're reaching outward, seeking connection. The lights dimmed against station-wide power modulation. The central AI chimed in with a soft synthetic voice. Alert. Localized entropy detected in MedCore. Stabilizing environmental fields. Entropy. The system was struggling to maintain equilibrium. These births, Zarella muttered, they're disrupting the station's life support balance. How? Eli asked. They don't just exist, she said. They bend the systems. Around them, their presence generates bioplasmic feedbacks, something we've only seen near gravitational anomalies. These children aren't just hybrids. They're catalytic organisms. Eli stared at her. Meaning what? They're changing us. This station, maybe even more. He looked back at the pod. The child's eyes were open, now violet, and deep, like they held a galaxy inside. Its gaze locked onto Eli. And then it smiled. A wave of warmth hit him, a rush of calm, like an emotional signal, but not his own. Zyrella nodded grimly. So did we. Another technician burst into the room. Commander, the Council has called for emergency deliberation. They want to vote on activating mutation protocol Theta. Zyrella's expression went rigid. Already? What's protocol Theta? Eli asked, uneasy. It's a termination order, she said. Genetic sterilization. No. Eli stepped between her and the pod. You can't. We don't have a choice. If their development continues at this rate, they could destabilize our planetary genome bank. Our entire species is built on controlled evolution. We cannot survive unchecked variables. They're not a disease, Eli snapped. They're children, sentient children. Sentient doesn't mean safe, Zyrella said quietly. Eli stared at her. You didn't always believe that. For a moment, something passed over her expression. Regret, memory. He pressed on. You said you've never had emotional variance in your species, that everything's been regulated. But I've seen you hesitate. Your feelings are just like them. I'm not. You're evolving, he said. You all are, because of them. Another moment of silence. Then, the fetus in pod number 1 raised its tiny hand, barely formed fingers stretching forward. The glass rippled like water, and a single word formed on the pod's surface, etched by invisible force. Stay. Everyone in the room froze. No sound, no alarms, just that word. Zyrella exhaled slowly. Terminate the protocol vote. Put them in isolation chambers. I want full neuroharmonic analysis on all 3. Commander, the technician asked, confused. They're not just part of him, she said, almost to herself. They're part of us. I want to understand them before we decide their fate. She turned to Eli. And you're not going anywhere. Eli nodded once. Wouldn't dream of it. But deep down, he knew this was just the beginning. Something had been set in motion. Something powerful. These children weren't mistakes. They were a message, and he was the only one who could understand it. The children of Eden. The lights dimmed again. But this time, it wasn't a system failure. The station's artificial day cycle had shifted into night mode, routine transition, but to Eli Mercer, nothing felt routine anymore. Nothing would be, not after what he'd seen. He sat alone in the observation dome, a glass-paneled ceiling stretching above him like a giant lens to the stars. Outside, the dark void of space shimmered. Eden 7 floated nearby, its violet atmosphere swirling slowly like ink in water. Beautiful, dangerous, alive. The children were sleeping now, or what passed for sleep. Their neural patterns had stabilized after the outburst in Medcore, but they were still sending signals. Not words this time. Dreams. Eli had seen the scan's colorful, impossible bursts of energy that resonated through the station's monitoring arrays. Even the AI couldn't decipher them. It only knew they were not random. They're talking to each other, Zyrella said quietly, stepping into the dome. He didn't look at her. I figured. Twins in separate pods, mimicking the same behavior. She walked up beside him, her arms folded. There was a fatigue in her face he hadn't seen before. Not physically emotional. Our simulations show cognitive synchronization. They're linking memories, even though they've never spoken. Never touched, not even in the same womb. Eli turned to her. So they're connected. No, she corrected. They're born connected. As if something in their creation bypassed the normal rules of individuality. He let that sit in the air for a moment. Then, what if they're not just hybrids? Zyrella tilted her head. Go on. What if they're the next version? Not half human or half Phalian, but something entirely new. A third identity. A synthesis. She didn't respond. Eli sighed. You saw what they did. They projected a word. They imprinted language into a physical medium. They're communicating before birth. Feeling before understanding. How do you engineer something like that? We didn't, Zyrella whispered. That's the problem. She looked away, then reached into her robe and pulled out a thin, glowing data strip. She handed it to him. What's this? He asked. Our classified records from Eden 7, the real ones. Eli tapped the edge. The strip unfolded into a floating hologram, streams of data hovering in front of him. Names, gene sequences, resonance logs, and then dash images. He recognized the chamber from his flashbacks, the one with the glowing crystals and the humming frequencies, but there was something else now. Something he hadn't seen before. Footage of an artifact, buried beneath the Eden surface, a perfectly symmetrical object, pulsing with energy. It wasn't alien technology, wasn't theirs at all. This wasn't part of your world. He asked. No, we found it during one of our deep core scans. We thought it was inert, just a relic. But once you stepped into that chamber, the artifact activated. Eli's breath caught. You think it used me. I think it needed you, she replied. You're human. You're emotional, chaotic, unpredictable. Everything we've tried to eliminate from our evolution, and somehow, that was the missing key. She nodded. After your interaction, our resonance matrix changed. It didn't just copy your DNA, it evolved it, rewrote the rules. Eli stared at the images. The artifact now pulsed with golden light, like a heartbeat. What is it? We don't know. We call it the Eden Core, but that's just a name. For all we know, it's not even native to this galaxy. A long silence passed. Why show me this? Eli asked. Because I don't know what to do, Zarella admitted. He looked at her. The admission surprised him. We have orders, she said, to contain this anomaly, to dissect it, end it, if necessary. But every time I look at those children, I feel something I shouldn't. A longing, a fear, a hope. Eli stood, facing her fully. That's not weakness, that's humanity. I'm not human, she replied, softly. You're becoming something close. She turned toward the window, where Eden 7 glowed. If we let them live, the council will come. They'll take the children away, study them, weaponize them, maybe. And if we don't, he asked, then they'll destroy the station to contain the mutation. Eli clenched his fists. You're saying we have no choice. I'm saying we need to make one. Then her voice dropped to a whisper. There is an escape path, a wormhole corridor leading to an uninhabited system, off-grid, untraceable, for at least a few cycles. If we take the children and disappear, Eli blinked, we'd be fugitives, we'd be protectors. His heart raced. Was this really happening? Was he about to steal 3 unborn hybrid star children from the most advanced alien civilization in the quadrant? And somehow, it felt right. They'll chase us, he said. I know. They'll brand us criminals. Maybe. He looked back at the stars, then at her. But the children might survive. They must survive, she said. Eli exhaled. Then let's do it. In the silence that followed, something changed again. Far away, in their chambers, the 3 unborn children stirred. Their dream signals spiked perfectly synchronized, and on the monitoring panel, one final message flashed from the neural scan array. We're ready. The Exodus protocol. The corridor lights flickered as lockdown protocols rippled across the station. Warning sirens rang in rhythmic intervals, echoing down the sterile passageways of Medcore Facility 9. The Council had discovered the unauthorized tampering with the stasis chambers. The escape plan had officially become treason. Eli and Zarella moved fast, their footsteps muffled by the humming floors beneath. Behind them, 2 cloaked medtechs pushed an anti-grav carrier, its translucent shield holding all 3 hybrid infants in incubation stasis. Except they weren't sleeping anymore. Each child now floated with awareness, their eyes open, watching, communicating with no words, only expressions, emotions, understanding far beyond their gestational age. The smallest, pod number 2, blinked slowly at Eli. His chest warmed with something he couldn't define. It wasn't just connection, it was trust, dependence. Security drones, rerouting to engineering bay, Zarella said, checking a holographic map projected from her wrist. We board about 5 minutes, maybe less. Eli kept his voice low. You sure the escape corridor's still hidden? Encrypted it myself. The wormhole array is buried beneath the cargo bay. No system scan will catch it until it activates, and once we're through, she hesitated. No one's ever come back. But the nav charts show breathable atmosphere and stable gravity, enough to survive, enough to begin. He nodded, then looked down at the children. Let's hope they're meant to begin something bigger than we understand. Suddenly, The walls around them vibrated. A new alarm blared. This one faster. Containment breach detected in pod number 3. The automated voice called out. Immediate lockdown recommended. They froze. The medic pushing the cart stepped back, eyes wide. It's the third child. Its vitals are spiking. Eli turned to the pod. The fetus inside trembled, its tiny fingers curling. Its eyes glowed brighter than before, no longer violet, but shifting into gold, as if fire burned behind the iris. Is it in pain? He asked. No, Zarella said. It's focusing. Before anyone could react, a ripple of invisible energy pulsed from the pod like a wave through water. The hallway lights dimmed, then surged back. Every interface nearby rebooted. Alarms ceased, then silence. Even the AI voice went offline. What the hell was that? Eli whispered. The medic trembled. They just disabled the station. Zarella's eyes narrowed. No, one of them did. Another hum began, a deeper one, not mechanical, but organic. Eli felt it in his chest, a resonance that reached into his bones. His thoughts fuzzed, his emotions scattered. The children weren't just projecting now, they were synchronizing. We need to move. Now, Zarella snapped. They sprinted down the hall, now lit only by emergency strips along the floor. The stasis cart glided effortlessly beside them, but they weren't alone. Around the corner, 3 armored guards stepped into view, fully armed, helmets locked, weapons drawn. Stop. Surrender the subjects. Eli raised his hands instinctively, stepping in front of the pods. Don't do this. They're not a threat. You've violated command protocol. Step aside. Zarella didn't move. These children are under council protection per Code 5, Article 3 of Interstellar Genetic Law. Code revoked by emergency override. One guard shouted, "A standoff." Then, without warning, the guards raised their weapons. The children responded first. Pod number 1 glowed with a soft, radiant light. The air-distorted heat shimmered. Pod number 2 vibrated as the sound of a low, melodic hum filled the hallway. Pod number 3, the golden-eyed one, tilted its head slightly, and the guards dropped their weapons. Literally, their fingers spasmed open. Their helmets flickered. One collapsed to his knees, weeping uncontrollably. Another began laughing, screaming with joy, like a child unwrapping a gift. The third just stood there, frozen, his eyes blank, their controlling neuro-emotive frequencies. Zarella said, stunned, "They're bypassing the brain, speaking directly to the soul." Eli whispered, "They're not attacking, they're protecting us." With the path cleared, they pushed forward. The guards remained behind, silent, overwhelmed, harmless. Finally, they reached the cargo bay. It was cavernous and cold. The far wall split open to reveal a hidden platform, covered with a large tarp and sealed by a genetic lock. Zarella placed her palm on the reader. Initialize Exodus protocol. The platform beeped. With a hiss, the tarp vanished, revealing a sleek shuttle alien in design, but small enough to slip through a wormhole gate unnoticed. The nav system blinked to life. "Are we ready?" she asked. Eli looked at the children. Pod number 1 blinked. "Yes," he said. "Let's go." As they loaded the stasis cart aboard, the final station-wide announcement crackled to life. "To all personnel, this is High Chancellor Vec. Exodus protocol has been triggered. All remaining operatives are ordered to detain or destroy the anomaly. Full erasure authorized. Long live the gene order." "They know," Eli whispered. Zarella sealed the hatch, then let them come. The shuttle vibrated. Wormhole generators hummed louder, charging up. On the dashboard, a blinking countdown began. 5 o'clock. They were 5 minutes from escape, and from possible destruction. Eli looked one last time at the children. Despite everything, they were calm, glowing, a warmth in their pods. Then pod number 2 did something new. It raised a hand and pressed it to the glass. A symbol began to form, etched from lighter, perfect spiral with 3 points around it. Zarella gasped. "That's the symbol from the Eden core." Eli leaned closer. "What does it mean?" She didn't answer right away. Her voice was almost reverent. "It means ... arrival." Outside, the station defenses powered up. Interceptor drones launched. Security fields fell into red alerts. But inside that tiny shuttle, powered by forbidden technology and carried by hope, 3 children not fully born, but fully aware, were ready to begin the next chapter of life, a new Genesis. And no one, not even the Council, could stop what was coming. The new dawn, the wormhole opened like a wound in space-violet light, tearing across the black void, spiraling inward, howling with invisible winds. The shuttle surged forward, trembling under the gravitational pressure. Warning lights blinked across the dashboard, but Eli kept his hands steady on the controls. Behind him, the stasis pods glowed steadily. The children were still, yet utterly present. Their minds pulsed with calm. "They're holding the ship together," Zyrella murmured, eyes wide. The wormhole wasn't designed for this kind of organic load. We should be tearing apart, but they weren't. If anything, the ride grew smoother, the closer they got to the center, as though the children weren't just passengers, but part of the system itself. Eli glanced at the timer. 3 seconds left. 2, 1. Light consumed everything. Then, silence. The shuttle blinked into stillness, floating in a new star system bathed in soft gold. A large, habitable planet dominated the view, its oceans glinting under a massive twin sun. They had made it. "Atmosphere is breathable," said, scanning the sensors. "Temperature stable. No signs of radiation or microbial hostility." She looked at him. "This is Edenine, our new home." Eli exhaled and leaned back in his seat. For the first time in days, maybe years, his chest didn't feel tight. Numbered alarms, no surveillance, no council breathing down his neck, just open space, freedom, and 3 children who were more than either of them could understand. They landed at the base of a lush hill near a flowing freshwater river. Trees unlike any Eli had seen before rose like towers, their bark iridescent, their leaves humming faintly as wind passed through. The shuttle ramp hissed open. They stepped out slowly, cautiously, shielding their eyes as natural light warmed their faces. Eli carried 1 pod. Zyrilla took another. The third hovered beside them, guided gently by a soft pulse emanating from the other 2. When they reached a clearing, the grass beneath their feet shifted, not crushed, but moved aside gently, as though the land itself welcomed their arrivals. Set a pod down and looked out over the valley. "We did it," she whispered, but Eli shook his head. "No, they did." Behind them, the stasis pods began to glow brighter. Each of the hybrid children floated forward, no longer encased, but surrounded by shimmering membranes of light. Their small forms hovered just above the ground, and slowly, gracefully, they began to change. The golden aura around them thickened. Skin that once resembled human or alien now shimmered with a translucent sheen. Their eyes, violet, gold, and cerulean, glowed like stars. Eli stepped forward instinctively. "Wait, what's happening to them?" "They're evolving," Zyrella whispered, "shedding what they don't need, becoming what they are." Then, for the first time, the children spoke, not with mouths but through thought, emotion, and sound that resonated through bone and blood and memory. "We thank you." Eli's knees weakened. The voice was inside him, gentle and warm, like being held. "You carried us from darkness. You taught us love. You showed us fear. We needed all of it." Zyrella reached out, eyes brimming with tears. "What are you going to do?" The children hovered higher, just above the trees. The spiral symbol pulsed in the air behind them, etched in light. "We are not gods. We are not weapons. We are bridges. Between what was and what could be, we will remain hidden. Until it is time, until others are ready." Eli felt something inside him open, something primal and ancient, as if a wall that had always been there was finally gone. "You are not alone anymore," the children said. "You never were." And then they were gone. No flash, no sound, just a ripple in the air where they had hovered. The grass settled. The trees returned to stillness. The valley sighed with peace. Eli collapsed to his knees. Zyrilla knelt beside him. "They're not dead. I can still feel them. They're part of this planet now," he said. "Maybe part of everything." For a while, they said nothing, just breathed. Then she turned to him. "What now?" He looked to the horizon, where the sky shimmered with auroras dancing beneath twin suns. "Now we live," he said. "We build. We protect this place. For the man, for what's coming." Zyrella smiled. "A new Eden." He nodded. "Let's get it right this time." They began unloading supplies from the shuttle. Food, shelter units, seed pods, all the tools they'd need to begin again, not as fugitives or rebels, but as pioneers. Not far from where they landed, a small grove of crystal a promise. And in the breeze, if one listened closely, a familiar voice